Hello, RAs. Welcome to a conversation about roommate conflicts, confrontations, communications, and mediations. We're going to be talking about some angry residents today. As your time as an RA, you will happen upon a lot of different situations, including emergency situations, upset or angry residents or parents, homesick residents, and one of the most common situations you will deal with is roommate conflicts. Living with a roommate is hard. If you're like me and you never had to share your living space, then it's even harder. And for no matter what kind of resident you are, an only child or not, it can be stressful to share that space with another person, even if they aren't an only child. Conflicts arise when people live together. Sometimes situations that work at the beginning of the year become more difficult as the year and semester goes on. Luckily, you will get a ton of experience with handling these situations in a mature, respectful, and calm manner. What do we hope that you take away from today's presentation? Your role as an RAL. How your residents and yourself will benefit from a mediation. Understand what a mediation actually is and looks like. How would you go about setting up a mediation? Understanding the ground rules of a mediation. Learn how the LARA method is helpful. Know what a side-by-side or roommate agreement is. We'll talk a little bit about some live scenarios that will take place during training and the next steps after a mediation is over. So what is your role as an RAL? RALs are helpers, trying to assist students in the process known as mediation. You are not a certified mediator, so please remember that mostly you are just a helper. The role of the RAL is to help people listen to one another, find a middle ground, or compromise to the issue at hand. Often, you may have to remind or reinforce community expectations and remind people of the limitations of the roommate agreement. So how will you benefit from a roommate mediation? When you think about roommate mediation, it should be considered an opportunity to help your residents. This is beneficial to you in many ways. First, you're learning how a mediation is a useful tool to help problem solve. You are assessing sources of conflict and helping you discover your conflict management style. You are learning your communication style, including verbal and nonverbal techniques. You are learning how to deal with lots of different emotions. And finally, as my husband says, happy wife equals happy life. Well, residents will make for a happy life if you have happy residents. So what is a roommate mediation? In difficult discussions, such as roommate conflicts, it is very helpful to have an unbiased third party to help mediate the discussions. You, an RAL, is that third party. If residents are having difficulty resolving conflicts, they will be encouraged to approach their RAL to arrange a mediation. If there are 2 residents or 4 apartment mates or suite mates, sit down to talk about those issues at hand. Try to get to the root of the issues. You may want to dig deeper than just so-and-so ate my food. Get to the real problem. We'll talk more about that in a minute. How do we set up a mediation? The RAL will be contacted either by email or in person by the residents letting them know they have an issue. RALs will explain that a mediation will need to be set up. RALs should contact all residents to find out the best time that works for everyone. At times, you might want to meet with each individual first and then do a group meeting. When planning for a mediation, it is very important that you allow time for each person to express themselves and to come up with a solution. You have a responsibility to the well-being of all your residents, not just the one who contacted you to set up the mediation. Give each person a chance to be heard, and then encourage a solution that is beneficial to all parties. Some roommates' conflicts require a number of mediations before they find a solution. In other cases, you may find that the solution is not working even after an honest attempt at a mediation is made. In those cases, and only in those cases, a room change may be the best answer. The hall director, RLC, or area coordinator would be the best one to make the recommendation to the room change. So you've set up the mediation, and you got the two parties together. Now it's time to talk about ground rules. Despite the tensions that may be present, it's never too late to sit down with all the roommates and discuss the concerns. Nearly all roommate issues are because of poor communication and poorly conveyed expectations. Before you start the mediation, set up ground rules. Use I statements. Ask them to take responsibility. Only one person may talk at a time. Voices should remain calm and low. Establish eye contact with each other when culturally appropriate. People should only ask about relevant facts. Address specific behaviors. Do not generalize. Also remember that you can not talk about this beyond the mediation with other residents or other students, and please let your residents know that. After ground rules have been established, the mediation process will begin. Each person should make a brief opening statement to define the issue as they understand themselves. Define the issues that need further discussion and negotiation. Each person will remind to speak in specifics. As the RA, you should always remain calm. Try to make sure one person is talking at a time. Don't let them talk over one another. Remember to try to get to the source of the issue. As a good method of communication, the LARA method is a great way to show that you're there for both residents. LARA stands for L, listen to students. Active listening needs to be practiced by maintaining eye contact, if culturally appropriate, nodding your head, and showing that you are listening. A stands for affirm or acknowledge your residents. Acknowledge their feelings and needs behind what they are saying. R is responding to your residents. Respond to what they say. Address the interests and needs of the residents as it's being brought up. A stands for add. Add additional information or options about solutions. Do not give them advice or force your opinion on anyone, though. Now we'll talk about roommate agreements and side-by-side agreements. The final step of the process will be developing a roommate agreement or a side-by-side agreement. This agreement should detail the specific responsibilities of all the parties in writing and should also include the following. It should provide a framework for carrying out the plan. It should define how to ensure that all parties are following through. It should provide alternate ways of handling the dispute if it should continue, and the final plan should be accepted and agreed upon by all parties, and should be signed and distributed. During training, we will be doing live scenarios. Be prepared to volunteer. Step up and get out of your comfort zone. If you've never done a mediation, this will be a great time to practice. After the mediation is over, follow up with your residents. Follow up with your RLC or hall director or area coordinator. If needed, a room change might be encouraged. We hope that this presentation is something that you can use throughout the time that you're an RA. Thanks and have a great day.